coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith, Jesus humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. People get ready, there's a train to Jordan. It's picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors of boredom. There's hope for all among those loved the most. There ain't no room in the sinner who hurt humankind. Have pity on those, but there's no hiding place against the kingdom. Come on, join us. People get ready. There's a train coming. Don't need no baggage. Just get on board. All you need is faith to hear there's Jesus coming. Don't need no ticket. Just thank the Lord. People get ready. There's a train coming. Don't need no baggage. Just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket. Just thank the Lord. People get ready. There's a train coming. Don't need no baggage. Just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket. Just thank the Lord. People get ready. There's a train coming. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to your diesels are humming. You don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord.
Faith assures us of things expected and convinces us of the existence of things we cannot see. God accepted our ancestors because of their faith. Faith convinces us that God created the world through God's word. This means that something that can be seen was made by something that could not be seen. Hebrews 11, 1-3. I came to Vanderbilt tired, exhausted, and without a spiritual connection to my activism. After a little over a decade of social justice organizing and education, I felt adrift, empty and alone. And somehow I'd forgotten that the roots of my activism were bound up in the claim that all human beings are made in the image of the divine. Many close friends and family members were shocked that I'd pursue a Master of Divinity when other educational options had presented themselves. I had never taken a religious studies course and had only recently become a churchgoer again. But my journey, like many of you, began with questions and a sense of calling. So I came to VDS looking for God knows what, literally. What I found was a community that restored my faith in the divine and the power of the collective. My spirit has been imprinted with the words and teachings of Dr. Emily Towns, Dr. Stacy Floyd Thomas, Dr. Juan Floyd Thomas, Dr. Fernando Segovia, Father Bruce Morrill, and my advisor, Ellen Armour. Furthermore, my success would not have been possible if it weren't for the support of Dr. Reside, Lindsay Godwin, Shatika Brown, and Vicki Matson. In addition to phenomenal instructors and conversation partners, my time at VDS has consisted of coursework that has pushed me to grow theologically, personally, and professionally. Though this has not always been an easy journey, it has made me a better educator, minister, teacher, and friend. I've come to understand that calling is less about vocation and more about what the divine mandates us to do. There's something about the mystical or the prophetic that forces us to look beyond the tangible, to reimagine everything before us. I've learned that nothing about the way our world is organized is necessary. There's something powerful about imagining something that doesn't exist and being part of a community that supports and affirms that vision. The beauty of what I've learned at VDS can best be described in what I would call a hidden curriculum, or the liminal space between theological training, field education, and hard life lessons. Sure, my education has consisted of reading Sean Copeland, Aquinas, Erasmus, Nancy Ramsey, and learning words to intimidate my enemies and, and impress my friends like hermeneutics or angelophony. But it's the hidden curriculum of creating a world unseen while navigating polity, politics, and the limitations of life that it's taught me what it means to be faithful. Seeing classmates step into their roles as ministers in faith communities that do not affirm their call, or seeing Alan Steele and Keith Caldwell remind us to pray with our feet, or watching my good friend Holly Miller learn about a faith community that's very different from her own and encounter it with criticism and deep respect has all been a part of my hidden curriculum. I didn't fully understand the relevance of what I was learning from my professors and peers at VDS until this past August. My family has called Ferguson, Missouri home for almost 12 years, and I was heartbroken to see a community I know and love hurting and in turmoil. But I walked the streets of Ferguson with faith leaders, feeling rubber bullets under our feet, and drew upon everything I've learned from this community. Like many of you, I had to move from theory to practice and occupy a space between the beloved community here that, though we don't always get it right, encourages dialogue to the harsh realities of the world out there. Many of us come from disparate seeming contradicting communities, but watching my peers and professors embrace and question these contradictions, though not always easy, has been beautiful to watch and greatly enriched my time here, and I thank you for this. Before I depart, I want to acknowledge my cloud of witnesses who have helped me through my journey: my editor, cheerleader, and partner, Dr. Tricia Pottinger, and countless comrades, including the kitchen crew at the Disciples Divinity House. Lastly, I must acknowledge elders and ancestors, seen and unseen, who by faith set out on difficult journeys so I could be successful. My paternal grandparents, Wapalo and Emma Kulubwe, my father, Patrick, who by faith left his native Liberia and sojourned to the United States for a better life. My mother, Karen, who by faith worked thankless jobs to provide for our family. My maternal grandparents, Mildred and Curtis, who left their homes in Tickfaw, Louisiana, and fleeing the Jim Crow South, created a home in St. Louis, Missouri. And you, my peers, who are part of my testimony, and I hope I'm a part of yours. We gave up precious time with our families and friends and paused our careers to ask difficult questions and wrestle with the unseen. My friends, by faith, we have entered the school of the prophets, and by faith we shall leave it. Ashe.
This reading is from a Sumerian hymn called Inin Shagurra, the Lady of Great Heart. Lady of the Great Heart, without you, no destiny at all is determined. No clever counsel is granted favor. To run, to escape, to quiet, and to pacify are yours, Inanna. To rove around, to rush, to rise up, to fall down are yours, Inanna. To open up roads and paths, a place of peace for the journey, a companion for the weak are yours, Inanna. To keep paths and ways in good order, to shatter earth and to make it firm are yours, Inanna. To destroy, to build up, to tear out, and to settle are yours, Inanna. To turn a man into a woman and a woman into a man are yours, Inanna. Desire and arousal, bringing goods into existence and establishing properties and equipment are yours, Inanna. Profit and having success in wealth, financial loss and reduced wealth are yours, Inanna. Mercy and pity are yours, Inanna. To cause the heart to tremble, and illnesses are yours, Inanna. To neglect, care, raising and bowing down are yours, Inanna. To build a house, to create a woman's chamber, to kiss a child's lips are yours, Inanna. To run, to race, to plot, and to succeed are yours, Inanna. To interchange the brute and the strong, and the weak and the powerless are yours, Inanna. To interchange the highs and the valleys, and raising up and reducing down is yours, Inanna. To diminish, to make great, to make low, to make broad are yours, Inanna. The false and true response, the sneer, to commit violence, to extend derision, to speak with hostility, to cause smiling and to be humbled or important in misfortune, hardship, grief, to make happy, to clarify and to darken, agitation, terror, panic, awesome brilliance and radiance, triumph, sleeplessness and restlessness, submission, gift, howling, strife, chaos, opposition, fighting, and gathering the dispersed people and restoring them to their homes are yours, Inanna.
When Dean Steele first asked me to offer a reflection for this evening, I replied to her asking for a prompt or some guidelines. Ever the student, I sought parameters, some kind of an essay question so that I could do the corresponding research. Although VDS has indeed taught me how to scour the sources and develop conclusions, my experience here has been much more than books and papers, research material, and practical knowledge. When Dean Steele suggested that I share what has meant the most to me during this time, I realized that VDS has taught me how to explore the stuff of life, the stuff of being human. I have learned to engage the boundaries set before me, finding them more permeable and malleable than I expected. In my 2 very short years here, I've learned just a bit about how complicated the world is. Gloriously complicated for sure, but not without its difficulties. Traveling to the US-Mexico border last May was an eye-opening experience to just how messy the world can be. Messy with love and loss, with the pain of real persons. Down in Arizona and Mexico, I began to understand just a little bit more the deep-seated human desire for easy answers and hard lines. Where does that leave room for the transitions, for the in-betweens and processes of living, the liminal spaces in which we so frequently find ourselves? We saw and heard deeply powerful stories during that trip, more than I can recount during this time. Upon arriving back, VDS continued to show me how to hold space for all those instances when we don't fit in the boxes offered to us. Spaces where one-line descriptions are never seen as the summation of the whole complex persons present. VDS has taught me that every beautiful human soul I encounter in their God-given flesh deserves to be honored in all of their uniqueness. To ignore these uncertainties, complexities, and blurry lines would be an injustice to the greatness and vastness of creation. I am proud to be part of a community of classmates that does not take the easy way out and seeks to hold space for the difficult questions, many of which are yet unanswered. I hope that I have contributed to cultivating this space in my own way, through an interfaith group, through field ed placements, and through daily conversations with classmates. Inside and outside of classes, I have tried to learn from each of you, really hear your stories, lean into your difficulties with you, and learn more about who you persist in being. I hope that you have felt the deep care I have for all of you. As much as I have learned immense information from my textbooks and professors, I have learned even more from you, my peers. From all different walks of life, we encountered each other in very intimate ways, sometimes by choice and sometimes by necessity. The ambiguity of authentic meeting can be a watercolor where parts flow and fade into each other, a beauty absent of harsh lines and distinctions. I believe that we have cultivated such spaces. So thank you for your patience as I stumbled along learning from each of you. I'm proud to know such amazing people doing such amazing work. Not only have you shown me the beauty of complexity, but also to dream and imagine as far as the eye can see. There are such great expanses before us, equal parts terrifying and exciting, but still a world of possibilities. Though untamed and fierce to look upon, uncharted territory can offer as much opportunity as it does risk. Professor Vicki Matson offered this quote from Rainer Maria Rilke at the beginning of Field Ed this year, and it continues to call to me. Be patient with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in very foreign languages. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answers. So to you classmates staying and classmates going, I hope we can continue living into the complexities, leaning into questions which seem to have no answers. I dare to hope that we will eventually find ourselves living into such answers and leave our communities and our own beings changed in their wake. Thank you.
Battered and torn, still I can see the light. Tattered and worn, still I must kneel to fight. Friend of mine, what can you spare? I know sometimes it gets cold in there when my legs no longer carry, and the warm wind chills my bones. I just reach for Mother Mary, and I shall not walk alone. Hope is a light while we're apart, and only tears speak from my heart. Break these chains that hold us down, and we shall be forever bound. And when I'm tired and weary and a long, long way from home, I just reach for Mother Mary, and I shall not walk alone. Beauty that we left behind, how shall we forever find? Set aside our weight and sin, so that we can live again. When my legs no longer carry, and the warm wind chills my bones, I just reach for Mother Mary, and I shall not walk alone, and I shall not walk alone, and I shall not walk alone. I shall not
Vanderbilt University Divinity School is a distinctive place to study and to teach. It's a setting in which I have personally found great satisfaction during my 42-year career here. I arrived in '73 with a full head of hair and bell-bottom trousers. I had, after all, been living in California and Europe. I found here a divinity school with few counterparts in the country, our primary peer institutions being Harvard, Yale, and Chicago. What makes these schools unique is that our divinity schools are all situated within a large private research university and are not aligned with any specific religious body. Like all other parts of the university, we here are committed to studying our special field, for us it's religion, with all the tools and methods available in a spirit of open inquiry and discussion. For me, it was an inviting and exhilarating environment, one in which all are invited to explore and to grow. I was also privileged over these years to witness new waves of people coming into the field, changing forever the homogeneous makeup of faculty and students alike. When Vanderbilt University opened its doors in 1875, the Divinity School, at that time called the Biblical Department, was one of the 4 original schools. The university was founded by the Methodist Episcopal Church South and maintained this connection until 1914, when the university broke its ties with the church. The university as a whole, and the Divinity School with it, has ever since then remained a private university, unaffiliated with any specific sponsoring religious body. That independence has put us on a distinctive course in this region of the country as we set our sights on civil rights issues, the status of women in society, pervasive poverty, and much more. Contrary to the conceptions of many, we are not a seminary supported by and answerable to a specific denomination or religion. Rather, as a divinity school, we have as our potential subject matter the endless range of religious traditions, organizations, and experiences from ancient times until the present and into the future. It is, of course, an impossible agenda, just as it is impossible for departments of history, literature, anthropology, biology, or any other field of study to embrace the limitless scope of phenomena in their respective areas. We select our own special subjects and traditions to study, and in our better moments, we realize the arbitrary and limited nature of our own proclivities. As a group of scholars and students, we cover a far wider range of religious, cultural, and intellectual topics than any one of us alone can manage. For example, we are committed to training Christian ministers, but this does not occur in a restrictive doctrinaire manner. We are interested in contributing to the education of leaders in potentially any religious tradition. And we also understand that in the modern world, all those whom we train need to be aware of the vast diversity of religions and open to working with them as well. Consequently, we would welcome onto our faculty and into our student body persons from plausibly any tradition of belief or non-belief. And we embody a substantial diversity in this respect. This is a key difference between a non-exclusive divinity school and a seminary aligned with a specific denomination. We consciously intend for our diversity to reflect, as well as possible, the composite makeup of our society and world at large. At the heart of our school is a set of commitments that faculty and students have developed over the past 50 years, and they are appropriately foregrounded at the very beginning of our school catalog and form a part of the enculturation of new students into the school's ethos. These commitments address some of the deepest, most profound problems of the contemporary world: racial injustice, ethnocentrism, gender-based and homophobic prejudice, religious antagonisms, ecological threats, the plight of the poor, the victims of violence, the imprisoned, and other disadvantaged groups. We recognize that such commitments not only define us as a school, but also actually draw many students and faculty to join us here. I've always found it gratifying to work daily with others whose values I share. It's no accident that so many of our students and graduates have chosen to work in nonprofit, justice-oriented agencies and centers. In fact, over 20 such organizations have been founded by our graduates to deal with persistent ills in our society: homelessness, poverty, racial conflict, rape and sexual abuse, the sex industry, prison reform, environmental degradation, and more. So what it means to study and teach here is founded on these common commitments and on our school's location in the university. And it has brought me personally immense satisfaction and fulfillment now as I look back on my years on the faculty. I found the Divinity School to be an intellectually stimulating environment, largely because we are part of a major university, but also because we have an expansive vision. Yes, we've had our share of conflicts and controversies. We don't all agree on everything, but we have usually found ways to cooperate on the important issues and have become stronger in the process. I've also benefited immensely from collaborations with the Divinity faculty and with scholars from many parts of the university, especially during the 6 years when I co-directed the Center for the Study of Religion and Culture, a so-called trans-institutional initiative that at its height included 10 research projects with over 90 faculty members from all 10 schools of the university. This context has allowed me to organize also a course on secularism this past semester with 30 faculty members from different disciplines across campus, presenting on ways in which secularism affects their own fields of expertise. This multidisciplinary approach can promote a rich engagement for students and faculty alike. In an era when membership in religious organizations is waning, what could be more urgent for future ministers than the need to grapple with the phenomenon of secularism? Or for those preparing for careers in justice organizations, what could be more important than engaging the various religious traditions and the deep human longing across cultures for religious meaning? A university like Vanderbilt makes it possible for us to conduct cutting-edge research and publish the results for the benefit of other scholars and interested laity. This chance, in fact expectation, to add to the store of new knowledge leads to an invigorating environment with problems and questions in our field, for me, the study of the Hebrew Bible in the context of the ancient world. I've often thought that if I, as a teacher and researcher, should ever get bored, it's my own damn fault for lacking the imagination and effort to break into new areas of inquiry. I've relished and learned from discussions with our students, who are among the brightest I have experienced. It's a pleasure now to look out at all our graduates with the assurance that the field is in good hands, that they will employ their considerable intellect, creativity, and commitment to breaking new ground as ministers, scholars, and activists. Thank you.
I am honored this evening to offer these short remarks and thanksgiving for 3 remarkable colleagues who are retiring from our school this graduation. They are Professors Douglas Knight, Professor M. Douglas Meeks, and Professor Jack Sasson. When I came to Vanderbilt Divinity School some 23 years ago, Doug Knight graciously welcomed me into this community of scholars, teachers, and friends. Since being here, I've had the honor of welcoming Professors Meeks and Sasson into this community of learning and care. I can say that when I consider these 3 men together, I have lived my career thus far within the shadow of giants in theological education, constructive theology, and Hebrew Bible. You have made your imprint on the future of Vanderbilt Divinity School. When the history of our institution is rewritten, your names will be inscribed for generations to come of those who attend and those who study this institution. To be sure, our life together has had its moments of sorrow, but also moments of laughter. We've had our disagreements on matters of great importance to the ongoing life of this institution. but we have found richer moments of firm agreement on the statements that embolden our school as the school of the prophets. We have said farewell to many other giants who have shaped the prophetic and pastoral spirit of our institution. But we have also welcomed new forces of critical research, spiritual empowerment, social action, and future religious leaders who champion causes of justice, who love mercy, who care for the and critical scholarship that does not only seek to understand the world of the text, but scholarship that seeks to change the world with living water. As you leave the service of Vanderbilt Divinity School as professors emeritus, to continue your work in wider and perhaps less demanding venues, when you remember us and your tenure with us, we encourage you as Paul encouraged the church of Philippi. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good, of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Our community salutes you, and we say to you, with all those who can stand, join me in saying this. We say to you with great applause, well done.
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home. Under the shadow of thy throne, still may we dwell secure. Sufficient is thine arm alone, and our defense is sure. Before the hills in order stood, earth received her frame. From everlasting forward, God, to endless years the same. A thousand ages in thy sight are like an evening dawn, short as the watch that ends the night before the rising sun.